My name is Josephine Grant. I'm 17 years old and a junior at a public high school in the state of Oregon. If you asked 10 random students at my school who I was, 9 would probably squint in confusion, and the last one might guess Natalie Grant's little sister, the cheer captain. That answer wouldn't surprise me. I've gotten used to existing as background in other people's lives, especially hers. Natalie is 2 years older than me, with golden blonde hair, the figure of an athletic model, and a smile bright enough to light up the entire hallway. She doesn't have to try to be loved. Everything gravitates toward her naturally. Leadership roles, applause, even a scholarship from the local Rotary Club. And me? I'm the one who sits in the back corner of the class, wearing headphones but listening to nothing, eyes locked on a book while my mind drifts somewhere far off. I don't hate Natalie. I just hate how the world assumes I'm supposed to be her quieter, more agreeable, and more forgettable version. My family, by that I mean my parents, have always done everything to help Natalie shine. The living room wall is covered in her photos, receiving student awards, playing softball, performing in the spring musical. As for me, I appear in one family photo taken at Disneyland when I was 13, and even then, part of my head is hidden behind a tree's shadow. Once I asked my mom, "Mom, can you print the picture of me getting the biology award?" She chuckled softly, eyes still on her phone. "Oh, let me check if Natalie still has any prom photos we haven't printed yet. Sweetie, hang on a sec." Her hang on a sec has lasted 3 years now. At school, I'm known as Natalie's sister. No one remembers my name. They remember my hair looks like hers, my voice is softer, my walk less confident. When I tried joining the school newspaper, the advisor asked, "Isn't Natalie joining too?" I used to think that staying quiet made things easier, that if I didn't react, they'd leave me alone. But then I realized silence didn't protect me. It erased me, turned me into a shadow, nameless, voiceless, invisible. I love photography, not because I want to capture beautiful memories, but because I feel safer behind the lens, watching the world through a thin layer of glass. I get to choose the frame, the distance, and most of all, I don't have to be the center. In class, Natalie sits front and center. I sit near the door, ready to escape the air whenever it gets too heavy. Whenever the teacher calls, "Grant!" Natalie always answers first. I don't even get the chance to breathe, let alone stand out. Once, in English class, our essays were handed back. I got the highest grade. The whole class was surprised. Natalie turned to me and smirked. I just smiled and slipped the paper into my jacket pocket. No one congratulated me. No one asked how I wrote it, but Natalie was praised as the inspiration behind my hard work. That's how I've lived for years. Every time Natalie enters a room, eyes go straight to her. I disappear. It's not that people try to hurt me. They just don't see me. But I've learned something in that silence. The people no one notices are often the best observers. And when they finally speak, the world has no choice but to listen. That Friday morning, light rain fell as mist blurred the football field behind Willamette High like a smudged painting. I was standing in the main hallway, clutching my camera bag, when the intercom buzzed. "All juniors and seniors, please report to the auditorium at 9 a.m. for the Fall Recognition Assembly." I sighed. I knew my name wouldn't be on any list. Even though I'd gotten an A on my literature essay and Mr. Steele had praised it in class, things like that never made it to events like these. I still went, not to see who got honored, but because attendance was mandatory, and because Natalie would be on stage. The auditorium was packed. I found a seat near the exit behind a support column, just hidden enough but with a clear view of the stage. Natalie sat in the front row with the cheer squad. She wore her red varsity jacket, hair curled perfectly, pearl gloss nails catching the light. She looked like the school's official poster girl. Principal Reynolds opened with the usual lines about effort and community spirit, then began reading names of honored students. One by one, applause followed. Photos flashed on the screen behind him. And then We'd like to recognize Natalie Grant for her outstanding contributions to the cheer team, the jazz band, and the winter community service program. The applause swelled. Natalie rose, gave a small wave like a movie star, and walked up the stage as if it had been choreographed all her life. She took the mic, beamed, and said, "I'd like to thank my teachers, my friends, and my family for always supporting me, especially my little sister Josephine, who shows up in every one of my pictures, even when she's not supposed to." The room fell silent for a beat. Then the laughter erupted, loud, genuine. Not because the joke was funny, but because it landed right in that sweet spot of awkwardness people laugh at when they don't know what else to do. I sat frozen. A group behind me whispered, "Is that the blurry girl with the camera?" A teacher in the front clapped and chuckled. Annalie really has a sense of humor. I looked around. No one thought anything was wrong. I gripped the strap of my camera bag tighter. Inside was the same old Canon I always used for the school magazine, not because I liked being pointed at, but because behind the lens, I got to choose what to focus on. The assembly ended. Natalie was swarmed by students taking selfies, chatting with teachers. I hurried into the hallway, trying hard to keep my face from betraying anything. But then I heard Natalie's voice behind me, loud and proud. "My little sister really is the best background character of all time. Every shot I take, there she is, somewhere." Laughter again. I walked out of the building faster. The rain hadn't let up. Cold drops hit my hands as I stood under the awning near the field. I didn't cry, but my chest felt hollow, like someone had taken a brush and wiped away every part of me without asking. That night at dinner, my dad scrolled through the news on his phone, my mom brought out a tray of lasagna, and Natalie told the story again, proud and animated. Everyone laughed so hard, Miss Monroe said I should try speech and debate. My mom smiled, touching Natalie's wrist gently. "You did great, honey. That line was so clever." I stared at my plate. No one asked how I felt. No one even said my name, though I was sitting right there. I swallowed a tasteless bite of lasagna, like I'd become just another piece of background in the family meal. After dinner, I went upstairs. I didn't slam the door. I didn't blast music. I just opened my laptop and pulled up a recent photo I'd taken. Natalie, center stage, hand raised, golden light catching her hair, and behind her, me, blurred, partially hidden by the curtain's edge. I titled the photo, "Still There." I don't know why I didn't delete it. Maybe because I needed the reminder. I'm real, even when no one sees me. That day began like any other winter morning at Willamette High. Cold, gray, and quiet enough to hear locker doors clanging from across the hall. I arrived earlier than usual for the school magazine editorial meeting, scheduled at 7:15 a.m. When I entered the back athletic wing, there was no one. No cheer squad laughter, no bouncing basketballs, just the steady echo of my shoes against the cold tile. The girls' locker room sat at the end of the hall. I always chose it in the mornings for the quiet. At least, that's what I used to believe. As I opened the door, the fluorescent lights flickered, then steadied. I set my camera bag on the bench and began removing my coat. Right then, the back door, the one meant for staff only, swung open without warning. 3 figures stepped inside. I froze. None of them were girls. Leading the way was Logan Reese, the football team's vice captain. Behind him were Chase Delgado and Drew Parks, both regulars on the school's Student Achievers Board that got posted all over social media. Logan looked at me and smirked. Didn't think anyone but old souls showed up this early. But look who it is, Miss Background Blur herself. Before I could respond, Chase nudged a metal bench with his foot, letting out a sharp screech that shot straight into my skull. "Natalie says your little sister likes sitting alone, thought we'd keep her company, make things less lonely." I turned around, gripping my bag strap tightly. "This is the girls' locker room. You're not allowed in here." Drew let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Relax, we're not staying long, just dropping off a message." Logan stepped closer. The overhead light reflected off his gray hoodie, the team logo stretched across his chest. He leaned in, voice low, like he was sharing a secret. Natalie thinks you're blowing yesterday out of proportion. Everyone laughed because you really are funny, but you act like someone insulted national pride or something. I didn't respond. I didn't look him in the eye. I knew that any reaction would only add fuel to their fire. I backed toward the row of lockers, trying to reach the corner, but Logan moved faster. He blocked my path, hand pressed against the locker behind me. You know your place, don't you? I swallowed hard. Oat. I don't want any trouble. Better? Good, Chase cut in. Neither do we. But Natalie, she wants you to remember. Not everyone gets to step out of the shadows. Then Drew did something I won't forget. He slammed his palm against the locker, just inches from my face. The metallic crash rang out, piercing and sharp. Instinct made me flinch back, my shoulder catching the corner of the locker. A sharp, stinging pain shot from my temple. I touched my face. When I looked down, there was blood on my hand. No one laughed this time. Logan stared at me, not amused, but cautious now. You know what happens if you open your mouth, right? I didn't say a word. I didn't scream. I sank down to the floor, hand pressed to the side of my face, breath shallow and quick. The back door slammed shut. They vanished like they'd never been there. A minute later, the front door creaked open. Riley, my fellow editor, stepped in and froze. Oh my God, Josephine, what happened? Your face, did you fall? I shook my head lightly. My vision was hazy, not just from the blood, but from a coldness that had settled deep inside my chest. Paper towels? I whispered. Please, just get me some. Riley didn't ask anything else. She rushed to the sink, grabbed a handful of paper towels, and gently pressed them to my temple. You need to go to the nurse. You're bleeding. This isn't just a scrape. I looked into her eyes. No, please don't. Not yet. I didn't know why I said that. Maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I knew that if I spoke too soon, it would all vanish, like a drop of ink fading into a glass of water. I got home a little after 5 p.m., my head still throbbing, cheeks swollen and burning where the cut near my temple hadn't fully closed. Riley had helped patch me up with an ice pack and a few bandages from the nurse's office, but I refused to file a report. I lied and said I hit the locker while bending down to pick something up. They exchanged suspicious looks, but no one pushed. I needed time. Not to forget, but to process all the silence they expected me to keep swallowing. Mom was cooking in the kitchen. The scent of tomatoes, basil, and sautéed beef filled the house. Dad sat at the dining table, eyes glued to his iPad, scrolling through the news like the world only existed inside that screen. Natalie wasn't home yet. When I stepped in, no one looked up. I set my bag down, hesitated a bit, then spoke. I was bleeding from the head today. Dad didn't react right away. Mom turned briefly to glance at my face. Oh God, what happened? Someone shoved me into a locker in the locker room. Who would do that? She asked, but there was no urgency in her tone. It was just reflex. I paused. 3 guys from the football team. Logan Reese, Chase Delgado, and Drew Parks. Dad finally set down the iPad. Logan's the vice captain, he said. He's a good kid. You think he did it on purpose? They said Natalie wanted me to remember my place. A small, heavy silence settled over the kitchen. Mom turned back and stirred the sauce. Dad leaned back in his chair, rubbing his forehead like he was being bothered by an unnecessary detail. Josephine, Mom began, Natalie has her scholarship interview with the University of Oregon next week. They're scheduled to come to the school to film her portfolio. If this gets out, I cut in, unable to hold it anymore. Are we talking about your daughter getting assaulted or her interview? Mom set the spoon down, turned around. You're being too sensitive. It might have been a misunderstanding. Has the school said anything yet? I haven't reported it. I wanted to talk to the family first. Dad exhaled, slow and slightly weary. Josephine, what happens at school should be handled by the school. Don't turn this into some TV drama. You don't want to damage someone's reputation over a moment of emotion. A moment of emotion? I nodded. Said nothing more. If I kept speaking, my throat would break. That night, I ate in silence. Natalie came home late, still wearing the same wine red dress from that morning, stepping in like the house was her personal stage. Mom immediately set out food for her. Dad asked about practice. No one mentioned the blood in my hair or the scab forming on my forehead. I didn't exist at that dinner table. The next morning, I went to the principal's office intending to tell everything. The secretary, Mrs. Ellison, looked up when she saw me. Who do you need to see, Josephine? I want to report an assault. It happened in the athletic wing yesterday morning. She nodded, scribbled something down. You'll see Vice Principal McCullen. Principal Reynolds is in a meeting with the district board right now. Vice Principal McCullen's office smelled like stale coffee and printer paper. He was in his 50s, graying hair, glasses sliding down his nose. I told him everything, detail by detail, not skipping a word. When I got to the names, he looked up. Are you sure? Very sure. Logan, Chase, and Drew. He sat still for a moment, then responded slowly. Those boys are key athletes, top students with almost spotless records. Maybe you just misunderstood their joking around? I heard every word clearly, not because he was loud, but because it hit the place I feared most. Doubt dressed in calm tones. Do you have any proof? I shook my head. Just my word. Well then, to be fair, we'll keep an eye out. But for now, you should remain quiet. Don't spread rumors without verification. I stood, thanked him like a machine, and left. The hallway was quiet. I walked past the honor wall lined with photos of outstanding students over the years. Natalie was there, in her cheer uniform, in the center of a circle of clapping hands. 3 days after my meeting with Vice Principal McCullen, I still hadn't received any response from the school. No calls, no emails, no apologies. But Logan, Chase, and Drew were still strolling the halls like nothing had ever happened, laughing, joking, untouched. Meanwhile, I learned to avoid them. I took longer routes to class, steered clear of the athletic wing, and kept pepper spray in my coat pocket at all times. That night, while editing photos for the weekend bulletin of the photography club, my phone lit up. A text from an unknown number. I think you need to see this. Attached was a video clip, less than 30 seconds long. I didn't open it right away. My hands trembled. My head felt like it was cracking under 100 possible outcomes. But then, I took a deep breath and hit play. The footage was grainy, shaky, clearly recorded in secret on a phone camera. It showed the rear parking lot of the school. The wind muffled some of the sound, but voices came through clearly. It was just a light shove, Logan laughed. She hit her head because she backed into the locker, not my fault. Another laugh, True's, I think. Well, Natalie said to make sure she remembers. I bet she does now. The video ended with a car door slamming and an engine starting. I sat frozen. I replayed the clip 3 more times. Each time my stomach sank deeper. Not just because it confirmed their intent, but because of the way Natalie slipped so casually from their lips. As if I were nothing more than an object she had requested to be adjusted. I texted back, "Who sent this? How did you get it?" A minute later, the reply came. "I'm Sierra Winters. We were in the same drama class in 9th grade. I caught this while waiting in my cousin's car to pick up my sister. I recognized Logan, then your voice." The name Sierra Winters triggered a faint memory. Brown hair, always in the back row. She once got offered the lead role in a play, but turned it down because she didn't like attention. I don't think we'd spoken more than 3 times in our lives. And yet, do you still have the original? I asked. I do, and I can bring it to you directly if needed. Before I could reply, another message came in, this time from Riley, my fellow editor. Joe. Not sure, but I overheard the hall monitor this morning talking about new cameras installed last week near the athletics wing. I think there's one right by the back locker room door. I jumped up, rushed to my desk, and yanked out the old notebook I used to track the PE building's renovation schedule for an October newsletter project. On page 3 was a hand-drawn security map I'd once made as a graphic reference. Camera 4. Side hallway, rear entrance to girls' locker room. I opened my laptop and started typing. 2. jared.landry@willamette.k12.or.us. Subject: Request for surveillance footage, urgent student safety matter. Dear Mr. Landry, my name is Josephine Grant, a junior at Willamette High School. I believe a serious student safety incident was captured on camera 4, side hallway near the athletics wing on Tuesday morning, the 14th. I respectfully request confirmation of the footage's existence or guidance on the appropriate procedure for formal access under school policy. I am willing to provide any necessary information to assist with verification. Sincerely, Josephine Grant. I saved the draft. My heart was pounding, not out of fear, but because I felt like a door had just creaked open. Before bed, I'd printed the conversation with Sierra and Riley, timestamps and all. I also captured a still from the video, Logan standing beside the car, his face faintly lit. I tucked everything into an envelope and wrote on the front, "If anything happens to me, deliver to principal's office." Then I slid it into the bottom drawer of my desk. The hearing took place on Friday afternoon at 4:30 in the second-floor conference room of the administration building, a room students rarely entered unless they were either in trouble or receiving some so-called honor. I arrived 10 minutes early, wearing a charcoal gray turtleneck, hair tied back, no makeup, not to make an impression, just because I no longer wanted to hide anything. In my hand was a small black USB drive, the only thing I brought besides a printed statement from Sierra, stills from the video, and a map of the security camera placements Riley had confirmed. Mrs. Diane Schaefer, chair of the disciplinary board, sat at the head of the long rectangular table. On either side were other members, the school counselor, a district attorney, Principal Reynolds, and Vice Principal McCullen. The door opened. Natalie walked in. White dress, straightened hair, not a flaw on her face. My parents followed. My father gave me a faint nod. My mother avoided my eyes completely. I sat across from them. No one said hello. I didn't wait for one. "Josephine, you have 10 minutes to present your case and evidence," Mrs. Schaefer said. Her voice was neutral, neither harsh nor gentle. I nodded and plugged in the USB. The screen lit up. I didn't introduce anything. I just hit play. No music, no edits, just the raw clip Sierra had recorded, Logan's laughter, Drew mentioning Natalie, and that final line that cut like a knife. Bet she remembers her place now. No one spoke when it ended, but I saw McCullen clear his throat, the counselor scribble notes, and Natalie tense ever so slightly. I looked directly at the board. This isn't the first time I've been dismissed. Since 4th grade, I've been the background in my own family. Natalie once called me a leftover when I wore her old dress. In 7th grade, during my birthday, my parents gave me a necklace she didn't want anymore and called it a family heirloom. I still smiled. I thought if I stayed quiet enough, if I endured enough, they'd finally see me. I paused, not because I was choking up, but because I saw Natalie glance at our mother, the same warning look I'd seen my whole life. But this isn't just about favoritism. This is assault. This is a system built to protect the wrong people. I told Vice Principal McCullen. He told me to keep it quiet. I emailed tech support asking to retrieve hallway footage. No one responded, but I brought proof. And today, I choose not to be silent anymore. I handed each board member a set of documents. Sierra's written statement, Riley's confirmation, the camera map, the still of Logan beside his car. Mrs. Schaefer turned to Natalie. "Natalie, do you have anything to say?" Natalie stood, her voice even, rehearsed. "I truly didn't know that happened. I never asked anyone to hurt Josephine. Maybe they misunderstood me. I'm very shocked to hear all of this. I never wanted my sister to be harmed." I looked at her. Not with anger. Not even resentment. Just with the clarity that comes after years of being blurred out. "You know, the only time I showed up in the family photo album was the one where you stood in the middle, and I was hidden behind a tree's shadow. But it's okay. I've learned how to step out of that shadow. One step at a time." Principal Reynolds seemed about to speak, but Mrs. Schaefer raised a hand to stop him. We'll deliberate and provide a decision within 2 days. I stood, gave a small nod, and walked out, leaving behind shifting gazes and the USB still plugged into the wood-paneled table. As I walked down the hall, I saw Logan leaning against the wall near the office, like he was waiting for someone. When our eyes met, he smirked. You think people are going to believe you forever? I didn't stop, but I said, loud enough for the hallway to hear, I don't need everyone to believe me. Just one person is enough, and today, I've got more than one. I didn't look back. But the silence behind me wasn't like before. It wasn't dismissal. It was change. Monday morning, a notice from the school board was posted on the digital bulletin board outside the administrative office. The message was clear and direct. No sugarcoating. Student Logan Reese is suspended for 30 days due to serious violations of school conduct. He is also stripped of all positions on the sports team for the remainder of the academic year. Below that was another announcement, smaller, but enough to quiet the usually noisy hallway. Student Natalie Grant is temporarily removed from all extracurricular activities pending an investigation into incitement and cover-up. Her scholarship records will be re-evaluated after the review process. No one clapped. No one cheered. But I noticed the shift in their stares. People who used to pass by me as if I didn't exist were now looking. Not because I wanted attention, but because they were finally forced to see what they had long ignored. During second period, Natalie didn't show up for AP Literature. Rumors spread that she had broken down in the principal's office, that my mother had come and argued loudly with the district attorney. I wasn't there, but I knew. My mother wouldn't go down without a fight, especially when her Golden Girl's reputation was on the line. That evening, dinner was suffocatingly silent. Natalie didn't come home to eat. My mother sat across from me, her face frozen like a statue. My father held his fork and knife like he was rehearsing table etiquette. I took a bite of salad, then put down my fork. They've made their decision, I said. My mother looked up. That was a mistake. I don't think so. My father interjected, his voice low and controlled. Josephine, you've taken this too far. You could have handled it privately. There was no need to make it a public spectacle. I looked him in the eye. I stayed silent for 17 years. Not because I was weak, but because I hoped. But when people laugh as I'm being humiliated, when my parents apologize by telling me, don't ruin everything, I realized silence only protects the ones doing wrong. No one responded. I stood, carried my plate to the sink. When I came back, my mother was gone. Only my father remained, staring at the empty chair like he was seeing the kitchen for the first time. The next day, taped below Natalie's photo on the student hall board, was a new slip of paper. Student Josephine Grant has been nominated to join the Student Advocacy Council for Victims' Voices as part of the district's anti-bullying initiative. No one tore it down. Online, Natalie suddenly deactivated her Instagram, once boasting over 8,000 followers. Her posts about ceremonies, awards, even group shots with the principal vanished. Some students still whispered it was exaggerated, but none of them dared say it out loud when I passed by. That afternoon, I walked past the student lounge and saw her, head down on the table, her hair unkempt, nail polish chipped, phone face down beside a folder labeled University of Oregon. Interview postponed. I stopped. Not out of pity, but because it felt strange. For the first time, Natalie looked small. She looked up at me, said nothing. I didn't either. Between us, there was no longer distance, just truth, and truth weighs more than any wall built from lies. That night, my father knocked on my door, for the first time. He entered, holding a letter. It's from the district, he said. They're inviting you to speak at next week's school board conference. They want to hear about your experience and your suggestions for improving student protection. I took the letter. You don't have to come if you don't want to. He shook his head. I'll be in the front row, not because I was right, But because I should be there when you speak up. I didn't reply, but as he turned to leave, I knew. Even a small step was something that had never happened before. Downstairs, my mother was on the phone. Her voice was still sharp, hurried. I didn't need to hear the words to know. She was trying to salvage something: reputation, pride, a family portrait that no longer held together. But maybe, for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about that. I wasn't the one who shattered this family. I was just the first to turn on the light in a room they had kept locked for far too long. March. The snow was melting slowly on the roof of the town library, but in my heart, winter had already retreated long ago. My first solo photo exhibition, no longer a shadow, was held in the community room of the local arts center. The space wasn't grand or fancy, but it was warm. It was meant for people who once felt invisible. I hung 12 photos, each one a chapter from an untold story. No captions, no explanations, just small title cards beneath the wooden frames. Silence, cornered, uninvited, blood and light. And the final one that anchored the entire room, me, in focus. In that photo, I stood in front of a mirror, side-lit, eyes staring directly into the lens. Not smiling, but no longer hiding. On opening day, I didn't expect many visitors, but by the afternoon, I got a text from Riley. "You should come out. Someone's waiting." I stepped into the hallway. Assistant Principal Alvarez was there, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. "Josephine, we're proud of you, not just for speaking up, but for turning pain into purpose." I thanked her, accepted the flowers, and turned back to see Mr. Reynolds standing farther away. No suit, just a sweater and khakis. He nodded. Not the administrative kind of nod, but the kind from someone learning how to really listen. As the room began to fill, I spotted a familiar face at the end of the hall. Sierra Winters. She walked over and silently handed me a printed photo. I looked. It was a shot from behind me, the day I spoke at the district meeting. The stage lights hit my hair as rows of seats faded into quiet. In the photo, I wasn't smiling, but my eyes were lit up, like someone seeing her own path for the first time. "You made what you needed," Sierra said. "And you gave it to others, too." Not long after, I received an invitation from the Oregon Department of Education. They asked me to speak at the statewide youth summit under the theme, From Hurt to Voice. Under soft golden lights, I shared the story of being the blur in the photo, the girl always half hidden behind her sister's spotlight. I spoke of the first moment I realized I had the right to exist fully in frame, the right to step forward without needing anyone's permission. When I said silence doesn't protect, it just hides what needs to change. The room went still. Afterward, a girl in a blue hoodie walked up and gently touched my arm. "My name's Haley. I used to think no one would notice if I disappeared, but today, I'm going to start writing again." I hugged her, not like a hero, but like someone who had stood in that exact same place. A few weeks later, Natalie texted me, a short message, no decoration. "You don't have to forgive me, but I'm sorry." I didn't reply, not out of anger, but because some things are better left unsaid. To let silence bear witness. These days, my mother is quieter at dinner, but now and then she holds my gaze a little longer than a second. On my birthday, she left a small card on the table. "I'm still learning how to love you the right way. Thank you for not waiting on me to start living." I folded the card, not into a drawer, but onto the pinboard by my desk, between speech drafts and trial prints for my next exhibit. I'm no longer the shadow in someone else's photo. I'm the one holding the camera. And this time, the focus is on me. Josephine's story is a powerful reminder that silence is never the answer in the face of injustice. Once treated as a shadow, she found the courage to speak up and became a voice for those who had been forgotten. In real life, so many people carry similar wounds, but change always begins with one person brave enough to say, "I deserve to be seen." Because sometimes courage isn't about shouting, It's about refusing to look down anymore. What do you think of Josephine's decision? If it were you, would you be brave enough to speak up? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family, healing, and reclaiming your voice.